I'm not telling my kid that they're special.
I beg your pardon?
Yeah, you heard me. I'm going to look my child dead in the face and make sure they understand that they possess no exceptional qualities. Now, I understand how that may sound, but hear me out. The idea that everyone is unique and special in their own way is a nice one, and I even agree with that idea on some level. But young kids are egocentric. They're selfish. It's no fault of their own, but in their eyes, the world revolves around them. And telling them that they're special only serves to inflate that ego. I want to clarify, it's not so much being gifted that's the problem. It's more so the title of being gifted. You get me? If any of you are like me and were told you were gifted, advanced, or any other nice sounding word the school systems decided to use when describing you, that had you walking around thinking you were built different. And this leads to a multitude of problems. Enter Katsuki Bakugo. Bakugo was told from a young age that because of his abilities, he was exceptional, and due to this, he developed a superiority complex without having actually achieved anything yet. Something we see with Bakugo early on is his inability to accept help. When you see yourself as a superior, help is viewed as something reserved for the weak. And so when in a situation where help is needed, you find yourself incapable of accepting it because doing so would compromise the identity you've taken refuge in. Look at this, for example. Guaranteed this is what Bakugo was thinking in this scene.
I'll tell you why I loathe your redemption. To reach a hand down to somebody, they need to be beneath you! And I'm beneath nobody.
This is just toxic. Like, bro, he's just trying to help you up. It's really not that deep. In a world full of somewhat narcissistic people, the last thing we need is more people who feel like their needs are more important than anyone else's. Like Arthur in the Joker movie says, the first one, not the second one. That second one was absolute garbage. We're not talking about that. In the first movie, though, he says, "No one thinks what it's like to be the other guy." I think too many people hear that they're special and understand it as them being superior. Like, you can be special, but that doesn't make you better or more important than anyone else. Over the course of this series, we see Bakugo grow and wrestle with his superiority complex in relation to where he ranks amongst his peers, especially Midoriya. We see him unlearn a lot of his thinking patterns as he gets to a point where he accepts where he's at while striving to be number one in a much healthier way than before. It took several seasons, but as he overcame that mental hurdle, he kinda became the best character in the show. You know that saying, hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard? Well, that doesn't apply to Gojo, the ultimate light-skinned prodigy of the anime world at the moment. Even though he's a ripoff Kakashi, but that's another topic for another day. This guy was born and just had it immediately. Height, blue eyes, talent, money, women, aura. This guy had it all straight out the womb. But after not accepting help is the second problem of the gifted label: humility, or rather, a lack thereof. In the Bible it says, "For those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted." Gojo learned this the hard way when he met Toji. This was a generational humbling. Up until this point, Gojo had been mostly unchallenged, and his attitude largely reflected that. The moment when a special person realizes that there's someone better, it's tough. When your identity is wrapped in the idea that you are a gifted individual, being bested by someone you perceived as normal is something that's difficult to reconcile. But I will say that Gojo handled this case pretty well. He learned from his mistake and was better in the future for it. Although he still has a level of arrogance about him, he didn't overestimate his abilities past this point. Mostly. And then we get to the last issue, presented by early Dragon Ball Z Vegeta. Entitlement. Now I know, amongst all the Saiyans in the show, Vegeta isn't necessarily the most gifted. He's not more gifted than a Goku or even a Gohan, but I'm more so talking about the title placed onto him. Because of his pride as Prince of the Saiyans, Vegeta had to make it known to everyone who would listen, and even people who wouldn't listen, that he was the strongest warrior around. When fighting Frieza on Namek, he claims to be a Super Saiyan in an effort to seemingly preserve his ego. He does get a bit of a pass because he's the prince of a nearly extinct race, but the main point still stands. His title as prince leads him to believe that if anyone should be a Super Saiyan, it should be him. And when he learns that Goku, a low-class warrior, actually becomes a real Super Saiyan, he becomes desperate to surpass him. That desperation subsides for a while, but it does flare back up when Vegeta literally sells his soul so he can finally best Goku. This is why special titles can be harmful, especially at a young age. The imposter syndrome he felt as Prince of all Saiyans was so huge that he sacrificed his literal soul to be better than Goku. It's literally only after he kills himself he grows and learns to not let those feelings of inadequacy consume him like that. These titles can seriously lead to some self-destructive tendencies.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Okay, so I lied. That wasn't the actual last thing. I realized that Gohan is also a great example of the harm the gifted label can do. He might be the poster child for wasted potential in media. I'm not going to spend too long on it because this point has been run into the ground by everyone on the internet. But the frustration for Gohan comes from the high expectations everyone has of him. Between Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan, Gohan is definitely the most naturally gifted, and him not reaching his potential can be very aggravating to watch. But Gohan from a teen on is written where fighting isn't something that he actually enjoys doing. And even though that's okay, therein lies the problem. When one's ambition doesn't match the external expectations of them. Think about guys like Ben Simmons, Balotelli, DeAndre Ayton. All these guys who are or were extremely gifted at the highest level. But for a variety of reasons, they never reached the heights that they were seemingly meant to. This issue is especially relevant in my opinion because there's a lot of people who just be chilling, honestly. Some people have simple, modest dreams. If you're anything like me, you oscillate between grand, huge dreams and just wanting to make any sort of respectable living for yourself. All this to say, even if someone is super talented in an area, they may not even have the same aspirations in that area that everyone else has for them. And as sad as that may be, sometimes that's just the truth. You'll rarely reach your maximum output when you don't enjoy whatever it is that you're doing. So branding a kid with the title of gifted can cause all these mental hurdles that take longer to get over than they maybe should. As someone who had that label as a kid, I sometimes feel as if I'm behind in certain aspects of life because I never built the skills necessary to succeed in certain regards. I'm still not sure how to study 100% properly because for the majority of my school career, I never had to. Asking for help is still a major problem of mine because a large part of me still thinks I should be able to do most things on my own. It's weird because even though I had an ego as a kid, now I don't think there's anything particularly special about me at all. I feel like if I ever accomplish anything significant, it would be because I did something special and not necessarily because I am special myself. I say all this to say, I think I'm of the belief that truly extraordinary people are not born, but crafted. Yeah, some people might have better tools than others, but ultimately at the end of the day, the work still has to be done.